Hi everyone, I am the CRM Ninja, and tonight I am joined by Matt Weston. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, EY. Thank you, everybody. Good to speak to you.
It's great to have you on. Now, I have to say that this is the most casual that I have ever seen you. And just to clarify what I mean, Matt is the best dressed guy in the technical community who I've ever met. He's normally wearing a three-piece suit and a tie and is impeccably dressed. So
Yeah, you normally catch me whenever I've been to see a client. So obviously I'm now in my home rig. So
right.
yeah, this is me on a normal day. I am human after all.
Wow, who would have imagined? So I understand you have a hobby of video blogging or vlogging as it's called. Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, so um, it all really started from the work that I was doing in the Power Automate community.
Okay,
And I found that I was spending so much time writing responses to forum posts or trying to write blogs, and they just take me a long time to do. So I thought I'd actually start doing videos instead, because then
right.
people can follow along. And the feedback really was that they actually work a lot better than just reading text. Some people
Okay.
like the text, so I try and do the things that go alongside it. But most people just like having the video on, where they can pause it and they can work along with it. So that's really why I started getting into the video side of things.
Wow, that's really cool. I mean, I see videos as a mixed bag. On the one hand, I like text because I can skim through to the point that I want. If I'm doing a video, I actually have to watch the whole thing. But on the other hand, if I'm doing a video, I can actually see the different steps and visualize it and, copy whatever somebody's doing to apply to my environment. So it's an interesting concept.
Yeah, and that's exactly the reason for doing it is so that you can follow on step by step. So if I
Yeah.
do something, especially in Power Automate, if I use an action, then you can see how I configure it. When you're trying to put it into text, there are sometimes that you miss things, or as a writer, you assume that the end user knows something. Whereas if they can actually
Yes.
see everything that you're doing, then you cover all bases. So it's much more encompassing than just writing a blog on its own.
Yeah, that's very true. Like I have my own blog and writing it, and whenever I'm writing an article, I have to sometimes take a step back and pause and think, what am I actually doing? It may be very simple to me and intuitive, but people who are going to read this are not necessarily going to be as intuitive in that way. So, really need to set it out, which of course makes the blog look better because it's more words.
Yeah, absolutely. But do you find it's quite difficult though to really step back, being someone who's technical, try and step back to try and almost take a non-technical view? It's almost like trying to mark your own homework. It's very difficult to just sort of go, I need to maybe expand on that a little bit more because people might not understand that. I tend to find that's quite difficult really to try and take that alternative approach.
So it can be difficult. What I found helps is I have a couple of people who I ask to proofread. So I don't publish it yet, the article, but I send it over to them and say, can you have a look over it? Is there things that don't make sense? If you were stepping this through, obviously you don't need to recreate it, but is there something you think is missing? So I sort of get it. The best way analogy for it is I was always told, the best way to understand what a client is saying to you or anyone is saying to you is to repeat it back to them in your own words. And that way they can tell you if you've got it rather than just parroting their words back to them. Use your own words of way of explaining it and see if they get it. And it matches in their minds what it is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I used to use what I used to call the dad test, which is if my dad, who was quite non-technical in the past, if I could give something to him and he was able to understand it, especially as I was going through education and things like that, then if he could understand it, then I knew I'd hit the right mark. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. So I should get back to doing something like that, really.
Yeah, that's the dad test. You should like trademark that or something, or put out a system called the dad test system. Get dads to sign up to it, and the community throw things at them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'll look forward to seeing that go live at some point. So, on that note, what Oops Factor story do you have to share with us this evening?
Well, I've been trying to pick one, which is probably worthwhile sharing. I might actually share two.
Go for it.
One, yeah, one which was, and I'm going to name drop here, when another MVP I used to work with, a guy called Joel Rodriguez.
Okay.
We were we were both SharePoint developers as consultants, and we were working towards building quite a huge information architecture within SharePoint. It was all completely feature-based, so we had to create all the XML to push out all the content types and so on. This one solution was massive. There might have been about 200 content types that needed to be deployed.
Wow, that's really big.
I think we got through to almost completion, and then realised that we hadn't actually got inherited from the right content type. So for people who aren't familiar with the way that content type inheritance works in SharePoint, when you look at the XML, it's basically just a long string of characters that mean absolutely nothing to anybody, unless you're a complete SharePoint geek and you break it apart, and then you can start to maybe piece it together. But we literally had to go back and do pretty much all 200 content types again, just because it was such a mammoth task, and we'd just gone so far off piece that the only way that we could really do it was a very, very late night of us just going all the way back through it. So I suppose the lesson there is always be very mindful about, especially when you're inheriting, what you're inheriting from. And in that case, the only thing that we really could do at the time was just go through and do everything completely mandrolically again. So yeah, that's one.
You're very right. I mean, I'm not a SharePoint person. I've used it. I remember, Moss back in the days and other things like that, which I used just a little bit. But in the Dynamics world, and now CDS and Power Platform for model-driven apps, at least, you have hierarchy around security permissions, and just setting out what you can inherit permissions on, parent to child records, and who can see those and who can see at which level can sometimes be really complex, and sometimes you have to just start again at the beginning because you get too deep into it. So breaking it apart into chunks is really good. So I know a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And probably the same sort of approach. What you would do is you do some and then you QA it. You'd make sure that you're actually going down the right route, so you're not going completely into the rabbit hole without a way of coming back out again. So certainly that was a big lesson that both John and I learned at that point, was every now and then take a step back. Don't try and do don't try and take on the whole behemoth in one go. Yeah. Is break it down into small pieces, really QA it at various points, just to make sure that you're not going off on a complete tangent that like I say, you're not going to be able to get back out of without going right the way back to the beginning.
So sort of agile, iterative approach. You take a little bit, you take it, you do it, then you take the next little bit and do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why a lot of SharePoint development really sort of goes down the agile route, is because, especially with the way that we're developing now within modern SharePoint, it's a case of do a little bit, demonstrate it, show it, get some feedback, make sure that you're not going down the wrong route, especially when you're working closely with the client, because otherwise you just end up doing so much rework. It's got to be small chunks. It's got to be iterative. That's the only way. That's the best way, certainly from experience, of being able to handle these types of developments.
Yeah, no, very, very true. Fully agree with that. So. Okay, so there's a good lesson learned from that. You said you had something else you might share with us.
So this is probably isn't doing very much good for my reputation as a consultant. I've accidentally deleted operating systems or SharePoint farms in the past.
Hold on, did you just say SharePoint farms?
A SharePoint farm, yes.
Bloody hell.
I'm still not 100% sure to this day how I actually managed it. One was I was building a new SharePoint 2013 farm, and I managed to, I still, like I said, I don't understand how I did it. I managed to take a full server build back down to just a core install. So the only thing that I had was a PowerShell window. There was no GUI across the top of it. All I thought I did was just uninstall .NET. Apparently not. I apparently uninstalled a hell of a lot more.
I have to say that's probably one of the best stories I've heard. That's awesome, especially if you have no recollection of how you actually got down to it of uninstalling practically anything.
Absolutely. All I was trying to do was just to get SharePoint 2013 installing. Was roll back to an older version of .NET because the installer wouldn't do anything. I think it's beyond .NET 4.5. Yeah. So anything after that, and it started just saying, well, I can't do anything. So I tried to obviously roll back, and must have rolled back far too far, because yeah, I ended up in the PowerShell again. But I suppose the story behind that, or how I managed to get out of that, was really the tech community in the Microsoft world. This really is just a big plug for community, because community is always there to really help you, regardless of where you end up, or what stupid things you end up doing. There are people out there that have done it before, and have learned from it, and it all becomes part of the life experience. I've never done it again. But I used the Microsoft Tech Community, the official forums, to help me resolve that one.
Okay.
So there's always people out there that are willing to help you, regardless of what you might perceive to be something dumb that you've done, or a stupid question. There's never a stupid question. Because
so I fully agree with that. I always tell people, both when talking with community events, which is, I attend as well and involved in that, and even to clients, I say there's no such thing as a silly question. So I apologize in advance if I ask something that may come across I'm trying to understand, but you as a client, feel free to ask whatever you want. I'm not going to be annoyed with you. I'm not going to be angry. I'm not going to say it's a stupid question. You're asking for a reason to be able to understand. So go ahead and ask it. And the community is great. We have so many different forums and stuff out there, and public Slack channels and private Slack channels and things. And, you can just ping people and say, I've done something, or I've got this problem. Have you come across it? Can you help me out in it? And we all mark in with it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, everyone certainly within the community has been there. Everyone has been there at some point asking those same types of questions, which is why I think there's a lot more leniency for people who are active in the community compared to those, maybe a bit of a broad brush, but maybe those who aren't. But because people are there and looking to share those stories, that's the reason why I'm obviously here admitting my faux pas, because there's always a takeaway from it. There's always something to learn, because like I say, it becomes part of your life experience, it becomes part of who you are. And you never repeat those mistakes again, but then you can share those learnings with other people. And that's how they learn, and they avoid falling into those same traps that you've fallen into. So we're all on the same journey. Yes, we're all at different stages in that journey, but we're all moving in the same direction. I mean, I've spent probably the last couple of days on a WhatsApp video chat with a guy who's a complete novice to Power Apps. Who's just been constantly hammering me about how do I do this and how do I do that, and I've got no problems in helping that person out, because he's trying to learn. He sent me a video tonight of him going, "Yes, I've cracked it." That's made it all worthwhile.
That sounds eerily like what I've been doing for the last week. So I started a new role a couple of weeks back, and I've been thrown to Canvas apps. I come from a model-driven background, and it's not just any Canvas app. It's a COVID-19 triage app for local authorities. Right. So really trying to get, and it's like Canvas app, because that's the best way, because it's for call centers and you can display information on the screen. I'm like, I have no idea how to do this. So yeah, I've reached out to people in the community, and they've been helping me and sharing screens, and I'm like messaging and saying, I think I got this. I'm feeling very proud of myself, I have to say.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's all about achieving something, and certainly if you've helped somebody achieve something, then that makes you feel good as well. And that's what it's all about, because I know that person is going to go away and show some of his colleagues how to do that now. So it's all a constant snowball effect. So yeah, everyone helps each other, and the community is the go-to place really for any time you need help, or if you ever find yourself in a rabbit hole, speak to the community, and that's how you can get yourself back out again.
And for Power Platform stuff, I just put a plug, #PowerAddicts. It's great, international, round the world. I know you're on it, I'm on it and stuff, and it's really great. On Twitter, for those who don't know what a hashtag is on Twitter.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of the people who get involved with that, you can ask them any time of the day, and you'll always get a response. So yeah, people love sharing information, and that's the thing that I think I've taken to most in the Microsoft Tech community, is that you can be in the community, you can be helping out someone who in commercial life is actually a competitor. But because you're both trying to work things out, and you just break down those barriers. the whole commercialization doesn't exist. It's all about
Yeah,
getting the most out of the technology and just helping people move on. And that's absolutely fantastic. It speaks volumes, and that's worldwide. So yeah, it's absolutely awesome.
it is. It is. It's really good. Well, thank you for sharing those stories with us. Really appreciate it.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. I hope that's at least given a few people a bit of a giggle. Um, yeah.
Definitely gave me a giggle. I know, because I know what SharePoint farm looks like, at least slightly from an infrastructure point of view. So,
Yeah,
so
never be afraid of making mistakes. There's always a way of getting back out of it. Just
definitely, and it's the way to learn moving forward. You know,
yeah,
you learn from your mistakes, and you then get better. If you don't make any mistakes, then you can never really learn from it.
absolutely, yeah.
So, on that note, who would you like to nominate to appear on the show and share something that they've done and lessons learned from it, of course?
Oh, very good question. I might nominate a very good friend of mine who's a Microsoft certified master. He's a man called Heath Groves.
Certified master.
An
Ooh,
MCM. He's a very good friend of mine, so I'll make sure that he's teed up for this. Uh,
wonderful.
and I know for a fact he will have a number of stories. He's been in the game a lot longer than what I have.
I mean, you only look 22, right?
Hi, it's the light.
It's the work from home lighting. Good, got it. Brilliant. Well, once again, thank you so much for appearing on the show. Viewers, we hope you've enjoyed this episode. Feel free to check out the rest of the Oops Factor playlist and subscribe to the channel. Have a great day.